now. Hi, Lorraine.
Hello, fellas. Hello.
So real quickly then, item for Selectmen's updates. Just want to comment that the town successfully issued its first bond offering related to the referendums that were approved earlier this year. It was about $8.3 million that were issued as short-term notes, and then next year we'll be doing some additional issuance. It was a great offering. It was snapped up pretty quickly. We got a great yield on it. And our rating was confirmed, our AAA rating by Moody's. So very excited about all of that. More details are available on the town website. But I just think it shows we're on solid ground as we move forward with our investment plans. And I'm excited that we so quickly were able to launch this offering. I want to give kudos to the finance department because it was a lot of work to pull this together. The good thing is now we have an offering statement and it won't be so unwieldy next year, but I will highlight that the first draft of the budget might be slightly delayed because they just haven't had time to focus on that. We had to get through the offering in the last 10 days. So you'll be getting this way in advance of our January 19th, I think is the first meeting that the board has on the budget. But you probably will not be getting it next week, which was originally on the schedule. So I just wanted to give everybody a heads up on that. Second thing I do want to mention is given some staff departures and that we are having one is Lauren Rhines, which I think I mentioned at our last meeting, has her last day with the town was on Friday. We also have a retirement. Our zoning enforcement officer retired, and that'll be effective at the end of December. So we have some restructuring things we want to talk about, and I'm going to come forward to the board in early January about those positions and with some ideas about how to rejigger that. And Erin can talk a little bit about what we're looking at doing in land use. And so that'll come to the board in January. And then I also will be bringing at our January 10th meeting that list of boards and commissions that we are going to, under the new charter, probably not move forward and create as ordinances. And so one of them would be the job evaluation committee we talked about. So our process will be kind of taking these things directly to the board versus the JEC. So that will be coming in January. I just wanted to give you all a heads up if you have any concerns or want to talk more about that. And with that, that's kind of my update. And also just want to wish everybody, first of all, a happy Hanukkah, because we're on night 2. And for any residents and board members celebrating. And then also, I hope everybody has a wonderful Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. It's been a great year for the town, I think. We've gotten a lot done, and we're excited for 2023. So that's my Selectmen's update. Yeah. Any other board member comments or liaison reports?
I'll just very briefly remind the public that the advisory committee for the design of the Academy Street School seeks your opinion through their online survey, which is currently open and available until January 13th. And the committee would encourage everybody to make known what kind of programming and outfitting they would like to see in the Academy's Community Center. The survey can be found online on the town website.
Yeah, we definitely want to get a feedback from all different demographics. So, and I think they've had a high participation rate so far. So it would be great to see more people take the survey.
Thank you.
On the 13th, I participated in both Madison Youth and Family Services and Board of Ed. They just happened to be on the same night, which is always interesting. But we had a great conversation at both meetings. One at the Youth and Family Services, we did talk about the donation, which I think we talked about in the Board of Selectmen, of the deter bags to dispose of unused drugs, and that was certainly well received. We talked about some other ideas of potentially donating to the police department, maybe even the ambulance services, but they're gonna, I think, talk to our good friend Sam DeBura about that and figure out, maybe some opportunities to spread them around the town. Our youth rep really made a passionate plea to the town. I guess they went through this exercise to get licensed for a TED Talks in town, which has never been done before in related to Daniel Hand High School. And they were licensed to be able to do so on 310. And they are currently looking for speakers. So I volunteered Bruce to speak. But we will certainly be looking openly for opportunities for speakers for various topics. There will be a website where you can understand kind of the 3-minute TED Talk format and specifics of what they're looking for. That was pretty exciting. And then the Board of Ed, really much more just traditional business. We did talk about the Brown bid. They're trying to be completed with the Brown renovations by the end of the summer, so that they're doing it while students are not in the building, which is fantastic. And they did mention, and I thought this was pretty incredible, that over the year, and Diane Weiss was sort of the in charge of this component of the Board of Ed, but the policy committee has addressed 102 policies in a 1-year period, which I have to admit, I was pretty impressed, and I want to lay down the gauntlet to this Board of Selectmen here that we need to clearly start to amp up our policy game here with respect to 102 policies. That was pretty impressive. So, end of report.
That is impressive. I don't think we can say it.
Maureen, I think you're on mute.
Thought I was off. Am I off? I'm off now.
Yep.
I'm off. Good. Thank you. I just want to, and I know a few of the board members are aware, but CIP has been meeting regularly with the budget. You know, for someone who was on the board when we started LoCap, it's amazing what this has developed into. It's pretty incredible. And we're moving ahead and with the reports and everything, and with our eventual recommendations to the Board of Selectmen for the budget.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's an important part of the budgeting process, sure.
So in this agenda, we're going to be saying thank you and goodbye to several resigning members of boards and commissions, dedicated volunteers that are just, it's the right time for them to move on, and we'll say goodbye with our thanks and gratitude for their service. So I'd like to just make an appeal for anybody who's interested in town service. Please don't be afraid to step forward directly to the first select person's office or to either the Democrat town committee or the Republican town committee, whichever way you feel more comfortable. We are always looking for people, and the first qualification, and perhaps the biggest qualification, is that you just have a passion for Madison, and that you're willing to bring that passion a couple of times a month to a town activity. And I would say, we're going to begin, Scott and I, interviewing for the Affordable Housing Committee. This could be one of the most important committees to shape the future of the town, for the foreseeable future. And if you think you have an interest, please, it's not too late, get your application in. We would love to be able to consider you.
I would echo that as well. We're always needing new people, and we've grown with a lot of committees, right?
Yeah.
So, the more the merrier, but clearly we need to keep having some new faces and fresh ideas to populate our different boards and commissions. So we're grateful for everybody's service. So with that, I guess moving on to citizens' comments. With that, calling for public comment. Raise your hand if you would like to make a public comment. Is there any members of the public on? No? No one here? No public comment? Okay. All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 5. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
I would just, for discussion, I would just like to just take out the one part of P&Z appointment. I had voted against it, one of the members last time, but I don't have my agenda in front of me. But I'd like to withdraw. Just take out from the consent agenda Janet Peckinpah for P&Z on my stance that in the past we've not had planning and zoning members be realtors, especially those who have active projects in our town.
So you're making a motion then to remove?
We're in a motion now.
We're in a motion,
Right.
so.
So this is an item of discussion.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that we covered it explicitly.
Yep.
But I think out of courtesy in the consent agenda, if any selectman says, hey, there's one item I'd like to vote on separately, that we would just allow that item to be pulled aside and subject to a second vote. So I don't
So
know.
maybe we do a motion to amend the consent agenda with the removal of Janet Peck.
But then we're gonna have to add another
Yeah,
item.
the
Yeah,
5A.
yeah,
We open the
yeah,
agenda.
So that's fine.
Yeah,
Open
yeah.
the
So
agenda.
Yeah.
that's fine, I think that, and we should just, whatever a board member
Yeah.
expresses that.
So with that, then, I'm making a motion to approve the consent agenda with the amendment of removing the planning and zoning appointment that we just spoke of.
So moved.
And may I just ask one more question?
Let's just vote on this real
Okay,
quick.
sure.
Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So you're voting for the consent agenda except for the one item
Yes.
you, yes.
Yes, but I do have a question on the consent agenda, and it might have been clarified. Robert, I'm sorry, I don't have my agenda. We have an alternate to P and Z, I believe, but it's not specified in the consent agenda. Bob O'Connor, is it Bob O'Connor? I don't have my agenda. It's right before the planning and zoning people listed.
I don't think
He
he's
was,
done.
he was a gentleman that worked on the charter, did a great job for us on the charter review committee. I mean, I'm totally in favor of him. I just want to clarify that what board we're putting him up for.
Bob O'Connor
Bob
for
O'Connor.
Yes,
alternate.
Yeah, he was supposed to be an alternate, moved up to regular member.
Yes, that's a.
Oh, that's a separate vote
It's not a
because
reappointment.
that's not a reappointment, that's right.
So
We're doing
it's
just reappointments
Number
now.
4 in
Yeah.
the consent agenda.
and that is, just to clarify, that is for alternate P and Z, correct?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We have to do
Yeah,
the-
it is there, it's number 4.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay, so we've passed the consent agenda, and then now, I guess we want to make a motion to
Open the agenda.
open the agenda. Can't we just make a motion to approve? We remove,
So
I saw the board of ed actually do
under the
an
old
open-
protocols, we motion to open the agenda for the
Okay.
purpose of
appoint.
voting on.
Yeah, you can do them in one swoop.
And then we
Yeah.
do, but now I think we can do it in one swoop.
Yeah, that's what the board ed just did.
Yeah, that's why I was asking about
Yeah.
Robert's rules, because there's been some revisions to it that.
You can do it as
the
one,
meeting or.
open and vote.
Okay.
So you don't have to do it as two.
Okay, so I guess you are making a motion to open the agenda and approve the following planning and zoning reappointments, terms to expire January 1st, 2027. We already did 1 and 3, right?
Yep.
Number 2, to approve number 2.
Janet Peck.
Okay?
So moved.
All right, any further discussion? I know, Noreen, you made your comments on this, right? And I know we've talked about this at different times, there's different opinions on this, and we've checked with town council and land use council and found there was not a reason to preclude somebody from serving. So with that, I guess all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Noreen? Opposed?
We can't hear you.
You're on mute again.
Or is she abstaining?
Is this the consent agenda you're voting on?
No, we
Oh.
voted on that, this is now the
We
person,
had-
Just the one position.
Just Janet.
so you're opposed or
I'm
abstaining?
opposed. I'm gonna be opposed.
Okay, all right, so we've got, motion passes with 1 opposed, okay. All right, great. So that's good, so, all right, with that, thank you for that, and then, item number 7 is discuss possible land transfer to Madison Land Trust of property adjacent to Madison Public School Green Hill campus. So with this, I want to invite up Aaron Mannix, and I think we were also going to have Graham Curtis.
Yeah, he's not.
He's not on? Oh, you know what, she updated it. Yeah, you know what, we'll just use her. Because she gave me an updated
I
one,
think
moving item
it's
7.
Jason.
Yeah.
6?
So, item 6, yeah, I think the schedule got read. So with this is basically something the board had talked about, I think it was about 6 months ago, in that the land trust is obviously one of its primary goals is preservation and conservation of the Neck River corridor, which actually is behind the high school property and also abuts the property of where the new school is. And so as we started going through discussions with the new school plans, there became an opportunity where we might be able to provide this property and deed it over to the land trust for conservation. So this was something we talked about. So with that, I'll turn this over to Erin and she can kind of explain it a little bit more. I think when we spoke, we didn't know the level of detail of the property that would be involved. And we were kind of early on in the discussion. So I'll let Erin update you on what I think is a great opportunity for the town and a great opportunity for the land trust.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? So I did invite Graham, who is our chair of the elementary school building committee, to join in case the board has any questions specifically about the new elementary school. But I can at least give you some overview of how I got involved in this project. I was approached by the Building Academy for a couple of reasons. Some more logistic planning purposes with respect to the actual design of the infrastructure associated with the new school. And I can share, I do have some information that I can screen share for you. But basically, as many of you are aware, the Mungertown piece is about 14.5 acres. And on the eastern property line, the eastern property line is actually the center line of the Neck River. And that property abuts also town-owned campus, our Green Hill High School and Middle School campus, which is the way that our lots are configured roughly is just over 27 acres. And on our Green Hill parcel for the high school, we have a DEEP septic design system, which is this centralized septic facility that requires regular monitoring and in addition to a costly maintenance program. It's an extensive review process with the DEEP and something that has worked well on our Green Hill campus. One of the situations that has sort of unfolded as we're getting into the development plans for our new elementary school is this regulatory definition of what is considered a lot with respect to the public health code. And as we dove into this this section and in there for water pollution control and their authority, we're understanding that a lot in this sense is a parcel of land that any parcels which are contiguous and are owned by the same person in or municipality are considered one property. So in doing that, now the town has acquired our Mungertown piece, and as we're looking to develop this, we're realizing that the Mungertown piece is contiguous with our Green Hill campus, and therefore is considered one lot, which would also be subject to this DEEP wastewater system for our septic. And so, and this was a possibility that was understood, as we were getting into this. But however, we decided to look into opportunities that may help, one, financially benefit our development here, and perhaps reallocate funding towards more of our building structure and improvements rather than subsurface sewage improvements. And one of the suggestions that we had was to approach the Madison Land Conservation Trust for a number of reasons. Having this wetland system on our property and on the Green Hill property, we're adjacent to existing Madison Land Trust conservation area along the Neck River. And the Neck River corridor is something that's exclusive just to our community. The Neck River begins and ends within our municipality, and has been identified as a greenway. And one of the goals of the Madison Land Trust has been to protect this Neck River watershed greenway system. And they've very successfully done this to this date. They have more than 473 acres within this Neck River watershed greenway, which is about 10% of the 4,343 acres of the entire greenway. When we combine the land trust holdings with our other local conservation partners, such as the Regional Water Authority, the state, and the town, now we've increased our protection area to roughly 28% of this greenway trail. And so we looked at this as an opportunity in our educational realm. Our existing Jeffrey School quite often incorporates educational components at Bower Park. And with the new location of our school, we need to be able to provide additional outdoor classroom areas and opportunities for educating our students and our residents about the values of both our land trust and this Neck River watershed. So we looked at this as a potential partnership, to preserve the riparian corridor along our unique resource. We reached out to the trust. We've been working on this at this point for the better part of half this year. I think my initial meeting with the Land Acquisition Committee was in June of this year. And I was hesitant to offer too much of our property towards the land trust, only because of trying to preserve our zoning requirements and our lot coverage, and not having at that point an architectural firm on board and an actual concept design for the school. So I very conservatively went before the committee, and they very politely rejected my offer and decided to make some recommendations of an enhanced greenway corridor, which I did my best to try and accommodate. And most of this land area, I would say 98% of it is inland wetlands area. So we did come to an agreement. I came back before them. Graham joined me for a revised proposal, and the Land Acquisition Committee unanimously approved that proposal and then brought that to the full board of directors of the Land Trust, who just earlier in the month did favorably approve our proposal as well. So now, with the Land Trust support, I wanted to bring this proposal to the town. Again, the Land Trust has emphasized their desire to advocate for the educational components, whether those are walking trails or outdoor classroom opportunities, signage, and they look to be involved in some of that design process to help enhance that experience down near the Neck River area. So I did send,
yeah, Erin, I just think it might be helpful, and I welcome Graham, who has now joined us, who is
thanks, Graham,
chair of the New School Building Committee, and so he's been part of all these conversations as well. And I thought it would be helpful to just put the map up now of what the actual property is that we're talking about. And what it would be basically is the town would be deeding over a portion of this property to the land trust. And then we would have, there would be a small easement, right, that would allow some sort of, at one point, possible way to connect the properties from the new school to the Green Hill campus. And this is all wetlands. So in terms of, it's kind of there's not like necessarily a lot of dollar value associated with this. It's really more of a, it's nominal. I think it's more the benefits this creates both to the, obviously to the town in terms of being able to develop a different type of septic system at the school property, and then also the benefits to the land trust is to, have kind of ownership and control over something that is critical to their conservation plans. So maybe Aaron, you can walk through
Yes.
what this looks like on here, because it just looks like a lot of lines right now.
So to the top of your screen is Mungertown Road, which is our frontage for our school property, which is 14.55 acres, essentially coming back, and the property line being the center line of the Neck River, which runs along in this direction here. To my right is north. To the east, this is our Green Hill campus. And again, that property line is shared along the center line of the Neck River. Madison Land Conservation Trust existing property is open space that was acquired as part of this Kirk Mead subdivision here, which is a residential development off of Mungertown Road. And their ownership is limited to the west side of the Neck River area. So the goal was to, for the land trust, was to maintain a substantial riparian corridor that would be protected in perpetuity. And they were hoping for roughly 100 feet off of the center line of the river. And so what we came back and proposed to the commission, or to the trust, was from the Mungertown piece, a wetland portion here, which is roughly 2.37 acres. And then on our eastern portion of the property, went down to our property line from the center line of the river, and it encompasses about 6.5 acres. So we're proposing a total of 8.85 acres of inland wetlands to transfer to the trust. And that would leave our developing our lot area for the Mungertown piece at 12.20 acres.
That's from the new school property, the acreage amount was like
It's 2.35 acres of inland wetlands. You can see this line here with the triangles on it. This, as the triangles are facing inward, this is considered inland wetlands. And on this eastern portion here, this is also wetland formally designated inland wetlands. And so those arrows are pointing in. So this entire area that's within these arrows are considered inland wetlands. So this is a whole wetland system adjacent to the Neck River.
So the town could never build a school on that property that we would be giving to the land trust because it's in inland wetlands, right? There would be you were prohibited from building in that location, correct?
We have steep slopes coming down. If anybody's been along that area it's pretty obvious when you're driving into the entrance of Daniel Hand. There's significant slopes, and those are all inland wetlands. Yes, it's not usable area. I guess I should say there's nothing technically in our inland wetland regulations that prohibits development within an inland wetland, but I think you'd face a lot of challenges trying to do that and just logistically finding suitable soils to do so. The one thing that Peggy did mention is this area here to the north. One suggestion that the town made is to ensure the opportunity, should the town decide to move in this direction of ever trying to have a pedestrian access from the elementary school property to the high school property, we wanted to leave that option open. It's likely a costly process that requires several levels of permitting with Army Corps and DEEP, as well as local requirements as well. But just in case funding opportunities, presented themselves and there was an ability to make this happen. We didn't want to preclude ourselves from that future opportunity. We decided 50 feet was appropriate. Should there be any span, pedestrian footbridge, things of that nature, all of the construction activities could fall within that 50 feet if we move in that direction. The trust was more than willing to agree to this possibility. I think in the short term, we'll likely be exploring sidewalk connections first before we move into traipsing through the inland wetlands. But this was, we looked at this as the narrowest crossing of this entire portion of property. So it seemed like the most logical place to put this. So that's why that language is in here.
And if maybe if you could just talk through why this is attractive. I'm sure some people in the public would be saying, wait a second, we just bought this property. So what are we doing here? So if you can maybe give this the building committee's perspective and assure us that we're not, giving something away that we might need in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Peggy. And I just want to first of all compliment Erin for a great job she did through this long process. Also want to compliment the Land Trust for being a great partner of this project and helping us along. And we're committed to working with them to develop the pollinator garden along the perimeter of the property. And actually, coincidentally, several of the Land Trust members volunteered, including Al, to help build a pollinator garden up here by Cohen's Pond. So you got to bring your shovel back, Al, and we got another 600 plants to put in up here. I beg the Land Trust. So, but yeah, so the land and when this came up as an idea, obviously I won't go into details. There's some permitting technicalities that were going to be problematic schedule-wise and long-term operating that we were able to do this working with the Land Trust. But the land value, we made sure that the zoning criteria will be met with what the plan was. So this won't be impacting our zoning setbacks or densities or coverage. So we've vetted that out, working with Erin to make sure that this isn't going to impact anything. So we truly think this is a win-win for the property. And we, as I said, we're going to work to build our upland areas and work with the Land Trust to make sure that we landscape it and put in the pollinator gardens and all the natural habitats and a walking trail probably along the property that ties in with them. So I think, like I said, this is definitely a win-win for the town and the Land Trust and this proposal. And I kudos to Erin again for diligently pursuing this through the last 6 months.
Thanks for bringing me in, Graham.
She says sarcastically.
I'm teasing.
Graham, am I to understand, I thought I had heard that there's sort of a long-term cost savings opportunity here for the town too, given, so there may be a swap happening here, but on the back end of this, we're going to be really saving the taxpayers money because of the septic system that you guys ultimately would be able to put in.
Yes, exactly. So if you do some arcane rules the DP has, because we would have to build a treatment plant, which is, our experts have decided is overkill. But just because we're next to the high school, which has a treatment plant, we'd fall in this jurisdiction. And DEP requires ongoing annual maintenance, which it costs upwards of $100,000 a year in perpetuity that we'd have to maintain if we had that kind of system. And we're designing the system to meet those criteria, short of a treatment plant. And we've worked with our consultant to make sure that we're going to protect the wetlands, and the septic system is as far away as possible. But if we did do a DEP system, potentially we probably would need to have that treatment plant, which would cost the town, at least $750,000 to $1 million to build, and also $100,000 to $150,000 annually to operate. So this is a huge win-win savings, and that's why we pursued this path. So
Thanks.
So it's a win-win-win, as we say.
I like that.
Okay.
Triple W, nice.
Yeah.
So I think that, any other board member comments or questions right now? No? So I think that what we would have to do to kind of enable this, and I think speed is of the essence in the sense that, obviously they're trying to move forward with their building plans. It's important to understand what systems they're gonna have to put in place. We would, at our next meeting, we would have to do, and I always forget the number, we have to do a P and Z referral, right? The board has to-
824.
24 referral, so this has to be reviewed, and then by planning and zoning. And then because this is, nominal value, I guess the board needs to take this to a town meeting, obviously, because this is, land, and I think with, because of the value is nominal, we may not need to actually have a vote on by the Board of Finance, but we would certainly bring it to them, to apprise them of this in January also. So I'm kind of clarifying some of that, but this is kind of a unique situation because there's not really, it's not like a property that's worth, $500,000 that we're looking to give away. So it's a nominal value to this. So I think the idea is we want to move quickly on this, and I'll try to iron out those steps better, but we would look to maybe have a vote and move this forward appropriately at our next meeting, which would be January 10th. And then I think planning and zoning meets later in the month, where then they could look at this project, and then we would have to schedule a town meeting after planning and zoning, I guess, approved it. So ideally, we could have this done and hopefully supported by the community through town meeting in February, and you would be able to move ahead. So that's kind of the timeline we're looking at. Does that work for you, Graham?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. But I think this is a great, opportunity for the town and for the land trust, so we're excited that we can kind of make this happen with that. So any other questions? No? All right. Okay, well, with that then, thank you very much. And then Erin, if you can just stay on for
Sure.
I asked Erin just to provide the board an update on her department, because as I mentioned earlier, we have a retirement. John Valoro, who has served our town for many years as our zoning enforcement officer, is retiring at the end of this month. And Erin is kind of been a bit short-staffed, I would say, for a while. And so part of, when Erin came on board, this board had approved a reorganization plan for the land use department that was under the previous department head. And I think this last year, Erin spent a lot of time thinking about how she thinks the department should be structured, and also been out in the marketplace trying to see if she could hire somebody that would appropriately fill some of those jobs that had been part of the reorganization plan. I think she's had some time to think hard about it, and and now with John's departure also, it kind of allowed her to really think at things like a blank sheet of paper almost. With that, I thought she could give you an overview of what her thoughts are, and then this is something we would come back to the board in January for approval, so that she could move forward. And this would all be within budget. So, but it's just kind of
Key point.
yeah. So it's all within budget. So this is just sticking within the budget, but kind of shifting around responsibilities, a little bit different business model, so to speak. So with that, I'll let Erin just kind of talk it through.
Sure. Thanks, Peggy. Yes, we are a 4-person department. We are down to 2 employees, myself and Maria. John has been our zoning enforcement officer for 15 years, and reluctantly was serving as our interim inland wetlands officer for 3 years up until this past July, where I relieved him of those responsibilities and absorbed the duties of the inland wetland officer temporarily. And one of the positions when I first started was the creation of the environmental planner position, as Peggy indicated. I, had that, drafted that job description, had that approved by the JEC and the board, and went out and was unsuccessful in filling that position in December of 2021. And we then went out again in the spring in hopes of finding a suitable candidate. We were unsuccessful again. And so we kind of, at that point, I had absorbed the wetlands responsibilities and was going to just serve in that interim capacity until another opportunity to advertise. And then in August, John left on leave, had a leave of absence, and has not returned to the office. So I inherited the zoning enforcement officer position on an interim basis, and have been doing that since August 18th. And so looking at our opportunities and seeing our ability to cross-train within the department and share some responsibilities, I noticed that was something that we were lacking. And so my idea is to restructure, still within 4 positions within the department, but rather than a town planner structure with the environmental planner directly below, I'm looking to incorporate 2 lower level positions that could share responsibilities. And the proposed structure I'm looking at is town planner, then a land use official, which is a combined zoning enforcement officer, inland wetland officer, who can then serve as backup for assisting commissions in my absence, and can also serve as a supervisory role when I am not in the office. And then the third position would be a lower level from the land use official, and would be more of a technician position. Also a certified zoning enforcement officer who has completed the DEEP training sessions required for inland wetlands, but can serve in the capacity to do some zoning enforcement, site inspections, and some lower level permitting as well, and be able to fill in for the zoning enforcement officer in their absence. And then our fourth position would be to continue our land use assistant, whose responsibilities are both administrative and the front end with customer service, as well as responsibilities for drafting the various legal notices, processing applications, and serving as clerk for our commissions. I don't know if, I'm sure most of you know, but our department staffs many commissions and committees. Currently, we have our 3 regulatory agencies, the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Inland Wetlands Agency. We also serve as support staff for the Historic District Commission, the Old Elm Street Study Committee, the Conservation Commission, Advisory Committee on Community Appearance, in addition to the Coastal Resiliency Committee, the Bike Ped Advisory Committee, the Ad Hoc Affordable Housing Committee, Ad Hoc Marijuana Legalization Advisory Committee, Ad Hoc Academy Community Center, and the future Ad Hoc Facilities Committee, all of which I am serving as their direct staff.
Strategic planning working group.
I'll update my budget overview.
Poor Aaron.
Well,
However,
but Aaron, I think that, well, first of all, the board will get this more fleshed out, in terms of job descriptions and.
yes, so at this point,
Yeah.
right, at this point, this was conceptual. I've been able to meet with our human resources director and look at potential grade level positions that could work within our budget. And how I see the responsibilities for the department being divided between the positions. And I think that's what's important. And one thing that was appealing to me is our ability for customer service and our ability for succession planning within the department, and not have such a gap. And as we're seeing currently, the inability for others to be able to step in someone's absence, and these significant gaps in responsibilities. If if I were unavailable, we'd have some problem. We'd have to outsource. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to have more boots on the ground, so to say, more opportunities for field work, more opportunities for enforcement and monitoring ongoing problems or construction problems, construction projects as well. And just for staffing of our commissions. It allows us for opportunities for growth within our department too. The ability for additional training and certifications amongst our employees. So I'm excited at the opportunity. I think, it's not ironed out completely. And I'm sure we'll have some edits to make to these job descriptions, but that's the concept. I think the overall planning process, whether it's natural resources, environmental, I am comfortable absorbing some of those responsibilities into the town planner position. I personally have a background in environmental science and biology, and I'm comfortable doing that aspect. So I think really the other enforcement and the permitting is important to have.
Yeah, I think it's
for our day-to-day.
I think it's a great, and I know Sam was very involved too, working with Aaron on this and working with HR. And so we'll get more details to the board, so then you'll have more to flesh out. But like I said, it's not going to change budget-wise. It's just kind of shuffling the deck a little bit more and hopefully having something that works with the staff that's in place now. Some of what was designed before was dealing with who was the town planner at the time, as well as our CEO, who didn't want to do inland wetlands. So we were kind of working within that framework to come up with different job responsibilities, and we've given their backgrounds, and now Aaron's come up with something that I think shows like a nice succession plan. So with that, I don't know if there's any more questions, but you'll get more details. So I just wanted to introduce the concept because we would like to move forward with this in January, so she can start going out and hiring.
Yeah, so I will finalize job descriptions, go through both Sam and Deborah, and bring those once we've kind of vetted out some of the language, bring that back to the board. But again, the goal is I know what my end number is in the budget and what we have to work within, and it's not my intention to be requesting additional funds for the department.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
You too. Good to see you.
Next item. Discuss and take action to approve the disposition of a retired 2000 Ford E350 ambulance for approximately $2,000 per the disposition of town property policy.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And this is basically.
So this was a vehicle that the ambulance had, disposed of several years ago. Madison Hose took it to make it as a utility vehicle and put a lot of traffic, sawhorses and cones and stuff on here when we have storms to have a vehicle that we could get the stuff off quick. It ended up turning into be more of a maintenance problem than what it's worth. So they decided to get rid of it. We put it into the graveyard at Public Works. It's going to get up for auction soon, and somebody from one of the vendors that fixes the trucks gave us an offer for $2,000 for it. I don't think that's probably the best way to do for that. Take the money and run.
I think we have a goal of getting rid of some of the unused vehicles, right,
Yes.
in the fleet. So this one was kind of a big space hog, I know for sure.
So is auction the way we normally go?
Being new to this, I think so. I think we go around and get items that are no longer needed, and we put them up for auction. Set up an auction, and then I don't know if this thing would get any more money out of the auction. I doubt it.
You're saying there's not a big market for 23-year-old ambulances?
No,
Probably not.
Don't run.
they don't.
What's the nature of the issue? Does it run?
Every time we go to use it on a call, the battery's dead. Even though we had the battery charger in there, it's out. So really, we don't know what's going on with it. They replaced batteries several times, and it's just. So it would be somebody else's headache.
Oh, I'm sure you're right, that 2,000 sounds like a pretty good price. I think as a matter of process, if we're gonna be divesting of vehicles, we probably should have multiple bids.
Well, I think the plan is, there's a kind of a list, right, that we're working through, and that's gonna be more, we're gonna go through a more fully vetted process. This is more opportunistic, right, and it's a space problem.
Right. And it's, you know,
We have the new
we're gonna
trucks
get
coming in.
the person's interested, and if we tell them no,
Yeah.
we wait. It's probably gonna take us, you know, another month and a half or so to set up the auction, and I'm sure that the person's gonna move on, so.
Sam, what happens to the equipment that's inside the vehicle?
Well, right now it's in storage at the firehouse, and we're looking to make space on other apparatus to put it on.
We're reusing, though, we're not selling it loaded with everything.
No, it's
just
empty.
support, yeah.
It's empty.
But to Bruce's point, I think with some of the other vehicles that we know that we've identified, that we need to do more of a thorough, like, auction, put a package together, you know?
Yeah, they're going through all the, like, the small power tools, stuff that are obsolete. You know, we have at least 4 big 6-wheel dump trucks that need to go. There's another ambulance that, Building Grounds was using that's sitting down there, that needs to go as well. Along with the minivan and there's a myriad of other vehicles that are gonna be in this list, and we just need to get it going, and so it's not an eyesore. It's, you know, it's starting to look like a junkyard.
And we did have one at the junkyard. I should say the stuff dump, but that was a problem. So, so any other questions for Sam? So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 10, discuss and take action to approve calling the annual town meeting in Town Campus Room A and on Zoom on Monday, January 23rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. for the following purposes. Review the state of the town report, review the 5-year capital plan, to receive the annual report of the permanent boards, commissions, agencies, committees, and the town's audit report in accordance with Article 2, Section 2.1.4.1 of the town charter.
So moved. Second.
Okay, and this is just what we do every year, and we'll do a presentation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great, motion passes, and just so there's no voting taking place, which is why we can do kind of a Zoom meeting, so, and form is required. Okay, so, going on to, citizens' comments. Do we have any hands raised? Okay, yes, in the room. Oh my gosh, we have comments in the room.
That's exciting.
Sure. I'm Laura Downs. I live at 54 Quarry Ledge. I just wanted to thank you all. Bruce, when you said earlier about, you know, recruiting for new positions, you said passion for the town was one of the requirements, and you all have that. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I see a future Selectman in our future.
Looks like we have a few other hands raised online.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, I just had a point of order. I came in a little bit late to the meeting, but was the short-term rental item removed from the agenda?
Yes, it was tabled.
It was tabled till January.
Okay, thank you.
Familiar name.
Any other,
Gus.
wow, Gus.
Good evening. How you doing?
Hey, Gus. Long time.
Just wanted you to know I'm all settled in down here in Georgia, and that I'm still going to be watching you.
Yay. Wouldn't be a meeting without you.
Recognizing that I am not a taxpayer in Madison anymore, I really shouldn't comment. But I still find you to be one of my principal forms of entertainment.
Vice versa.
Yes.
Gus.
Is that a compliment? All right, thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any other comments, citizen comments? No? Okay, well, with that, I guess, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Say aye. Great. All right, thank you, everybody, for a wonderful
Happy holidays.
holidays and Happy New Year. We will see you in
Bye, Noreen.
2023. Thank you, Noreen.